Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
What's the question? What was the question? I don't know what 3A is. Give me context.
Iowa.
Iowa. It was related to Iowa. Yes. Randall, go.
It was comparing the run divided by, or rise divided by hypotenuse.
Wrong way versus right way.
Yeah.
Calculating grade.
Yeah.
And why? So that I think people were saying, you were saying correct things, but you weren't proving to me why they were correct. And here's the problem. So everybody kept saying, and I say everybody, this is not everybody, the majority of people got this one wrong, so I want you to fix it. That's why, again, rainy day coupon, beautiful thing, fix it. And you know the answer to this, you just didn't write the answer. A bunch of you didn't write the answer. You said there's no difference in the right way or wrong way calculation. Many of the exams, you have me a one-word response to that. -5 always, question mark? Because it's not always true. It's not always true that the right and wrong ways result in the same answer. It's not always true.
In this particular case, I didn't put.
But again, my question wasn't about this particular case. It was about why is it okay to do it the wrong way and versus the right way? That was why. I mean, I've said it dozens of times in class. You've said it back to me a number of times. Darren?
I was going to say, could we attach your video where you do this?
Give me this in words and you've answered the question. When does it matter?
In longer distances?
The distance, believe it or not, has nothing to do with it. Thank you for saying that, actually, Karen. A bunch of you said something about the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that when they're making roads. No, that's a really good thing to say. And I've mentioned that in class too recently, but that was with the similar triangles and figuring out how tall things are. Wasn't grade calculations. Although that was clever. A bunch of you have been paying attention. Very, very nice. Very, very stoked. Had nothing to do with this problem, unfortunately. But, Randy?
Because with small grades, the difference between the answer of the right way and the wrong way is so slight that it doesn't really matter.
The first 3 words Brandy uttered are what you have to somehow reflect in your answer with a small grade. Now, I didn't care how you define small, but here's the deal. A bunch of you calculated correctly that the grade at that steepest part of the road was, I think it was 18%. I think that was the steepest grade. That's the part of the video, 18%. And I trust your calculations were, for the most part, spot on, fantastic. Yay! I mean, that's why I was stoked to see the modal score be at 95. Yes, again, yay, good stuff. The problem is, why is it okay? If I had rerun the grade the correct way, which is making you use Pythagoras to figure out the actual run, which I didn't do except for that one pilot view question, why would it be roughly the same? And the answer is, it's not always the same. But in certain cases where the grade is small enough, I don't care about what small enough is. I was looking for this, and Taryn, the fact that you mentioned my arm movements in class means you remember it. If you have an angle that's slightly small, like this, small angle, here's your rise, here's your run, and here's your hypotenuse. The right way would be to actually figure out what the run is by doing that squared minus that squared, square root of the whole thing, figure out what the run is, then do the grade. But you can even tell by looking at this picture that there's not much of a difference between the hypotenuse and the run. So for small angles, and I don't care how you define small, I was actually designing a spreadsheet for you guys to use to actually analyze it, but it seemed too dorky to do that. The video would seem like it was better. So for small angles, the run is essentially the same as the hypotenuse, which a bunch of you captured that idea that there's not much of a difference between rise over run and rise over hypotenuse. The problem is, sometimes there is. For example, for not small angles, but for large angles. Look at the run and the hypotenuse now. Now, the run and the hypotenuse aren't the same. The rise and the hypotenuse are about the same. But because the run and the hypotenuse are the interchangeable part, that's the problem. That's the problem with calculating the wrong way. I think I mentioned a story to you guys too, where I did this wrong in my head. Me and my dad, Salt Lake City, with the bobsled track. And I did it the wrong way in my head very quickly. And he's like, that cannot be right. I'm like, you're right. And then I was like, oh, that's right. Because the angle's so freaking steep there that you can't do it this way. You have to actually use Pythagoras to figure out. So that was what I was looking for. Some mention some, and if you got anything close to small angle, small grade, you got to put a boom or a bingo or something along that line on your paper. Like I said, about 10 of you got that bit about it, but that was the bit. And Taryn, the fact that you remembered the part of the video, that's fantastic too. But just correct it. Again, rainy day coupon, fix it. Boom, 5 points back, then the modal grade will no longer be a 95, will be 100. Because most of you will have 100, or not, the plurality will have hundreds then. Most. Yes? Yes. That's it. No other individual question through the class. Please, Francis.
I want to know about
Anything individual, let's talk at break. Is that okay?
Okay.
If you guys have individual questions, we'll talk at break for sure. Because there was a project question, I think somebody had a project question too. All those little individual questions, let's chit chat at break. Happily figure it out. But that was it. I like talking about the modally incorrect questions, and I grade exams one question at a time. I do them one question at a time to look for those questions. And that's the one where I was like, uh-oh, something's going on here, something's going on. That's okay, they can fix it. And then I was looking for a second one, because I'm like, if they got two, then that means I suck. But then there weren't two. Although some of you did think that the grade of Iowa was 82 degrees. And I thank you for thinking I'm Superman being able to ride down an 82 degrees. 82 degrees is almost that wall. Just FYI. Yeah, you have to, it's one of those things, you have to think about the reasonableness of your answer. I bring this up not because you're going to be calculating grade for your living. Not because of that at all. I bring it up because when I was a wee lad of 22, going to get my first mortgage in WSFS in Wilmington, Delaware, sitting there with Fran, forget her name, Fran somebody, my first broker.
What?
Hi Fran, I'm trying to remember her last name. I want to say Fran Drescher, but that's that actress lady. Fran Durbin, that was her name, Fran Durbin. Hi Fran, if you're watching this. And I was like, so Fran, anybody ever applied for a mortgage? The papers, they're like this thick. I don't know why they just don't put them electronically, but they're this thick. And Fran, I asked her, like, Fran, I don't understand what the hell you're talking about. All this amortization, blah, blah. Tell me what my monthly payment is going to be. And she's like, okay. She's got this little adding machine. And she's adding machine. It's showing my age here. She's like, your monthly payment is $2,500 a month. And I'm like, okay, no, it's not. Because this is 1994, whatever it was, 1996, and that's ridiculous. I'm not in Bend in 2006. Even though I didn't know Bend in 2006 at that point. But that's too much money. She's like, no, watch. And she's really quickly. And I'm like, Fran, I know the monthly payment is somewhere around $1,000 to $1,400 once you add in all the insurances and everything. She's like, no, but watch. And I watched her. And she hit enter twice, which doubled the result. So when she told me $2,500, it was actually $1,250. But the only reason I knew that was because I was able to quickly get an estimate of how realistic the number should have been in the ballpark. So that way she could give me more precision, but I knew where it had to be closely, and I knew $2,500 was out of the ballpark. That's what I care about with you guys. That's what Math 105 is kind of about is, yeah, okay, we explore grade, we explore Pythagoras, circular triangles. All I'm trying to do is plant the seed in your mind of how to use critical thinking properly. And I'm trying to do it by taking questions that you've never done before in your lives and immersing you into things tied back to certain things like quadratic modeling and whatever, and linear modeling, but trying to kind of bring them into a problem solving, yes, I'm slightly uncomfortable, I can figure this out, point of view. Does that kind of make sense? And this kind of stuff happens all the time, and so much of the math we do in our lives is very, very simple. Arithmetic for the most part, yes. But the thing is, if you can think critically, even arithmetic can be brought more under control, like me and Fran, WSFS in 1990, whatever that was. Yeah? That just sounds like the trombone of Peanuts, right? But that's the idea. That's the idea. That's why I want you to go back. That's why when you do those rainy day cards, which I will make the link better, I apologize for not doing that better. The rainy day cards will have a couple sentences you have to write. You have to write about what you did wrong the first time, and what you did wrong the first time, maybe I just forgot to talk about the angle. And what you learn by doing it a second time, making sure you don't overgeneralize. Overgeneralizations can be dangerous. I've often heard things, you should never, ever generalize. Well, you just kind of did it by saying never, ever. So, but the thing is that if you're going to use in a math class, or any class, use your definitions wisely. Don't say things are equal unless they're always equal. Because they're not always equal. In this case, for sure. But why in this case? What made this case special? What made this case special? Because it falls into this category and not that category. No matter how crazy fast I was going at the bottom of that hill, it still falls into this case and not that case. Nobody calculated it both ways. I was looking for somebody to calculate it both ways, right and wrong. I didn't expect you to. It's a lot of work for something I didn't ask you to do. So, I thought I saw my hand pop up while I was pontificating there. I apologize for pontificating as well. No?
I answered my own question.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good too. I like those as well. So, let's stop this. You can get into that.